and I guess waiting on one of our newest members now.
Is Wes on here?
Future member. I don't know. I don't see
I
Wes.
don't see Wes.
I think we're waiting on two more.
All right.
Wes is logging in now.
Very good.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right.
How about Kim?
Well, we're going to discuss that in just a minute.
Okay.
We'll get there. Hello, Wes. Wes, if I can, I'll get you to unmute there in a second.
Now,
Thank you
how's
very
that?
much. Very good. Well,
Now we hear you.
Everybody, I was sitting here, didn't even realize it.
now we've got everybody
My phone
except
didn't
for
stop.
one. I have got a situation where I'm going to have to probably leave close to 7 o'clock. So I'd like to go ahead and get started if we can, and then we'll deal with a little bit of housekeeping here early on that we need to from the board. But I do welcome each and every one. Mark, welcome also. Thank you for joining with us, Commissioner Mark Blevins. I will ask the well, let me get the roll call done with Shannon, so we have an actual listing of who's here to be voting on this next thing that will be going on. So Shannon, if you will, go ahead and call the roll, please.
Chairman Mike Barnett,
Present.
Dr. Bob Acuff,
Present.
Kelly Collins,
Here.
Sonja Keller,
Present.
Mike Simmerly,
Present.
Wes Frazier,
Here.
All righty.
I'm sorry, did you hear me?
yes,
Yes.
perfect, thank you.
Okay.
So let the record show we do have a quorum. I will bring up something before we look at the minutes. The last minute meeting that was held on March 9th. I did receive an email earlier, and I'm sure that maybe Daniel and maybe a couple of our city members know this already. Kim Birchfield has stepped down from the board due to other conflicts and him wanting to devote some time to running for Carter County Sheriff. He felt like it was in the best interest of him as well as his health for him to step down. In the meantime, I do believe that Mayor Kurt Alexander was appointed to fill his vacancy. And so I will entertain a motion from the board that we go ahead and accept Kim's resignation and also appoint Kurt to be a member of our animal shelter board.
So moved, Chairman.
I'll second the motion.
All righty. Shannon, if you would call the roll concerning this matter, if you would, please.
Chairman Mike Barnett,
Yes.
Dr. Bob Acuff,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Sonja Keller,
Yes.
Mike Simmerly,
Yes.
Wes Frazier.
Yes. The mayor is supposed to log in. I talked to him today. He said he would be in on the meeting. So he may be running late or something. I don't know.
Well, that's okay. We'll go ahead and
Chairman Barnett,
yes.
Mr. Birchfield contacted me earlier today to let me know of the change, so I did send that link to Mayor Alexander.
Well, thank you very much for doing that. You're always on top of it, and I appreciate it very much, Abby. Okay. I do first off want to thank Dr. Acuff for covering for me on the March meeting as I needed to be away for that evening. And I thank each and everyone for participating in there. I have the minutes. I'm sure most of you all got those minutes. I believe it was last week Shannon sent those out and everything. So do we have any corrections or amendments or any discussion of that that we need to do before we approve the minutes? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve, Sandra Color.
I'll second Wes Frazier.
All righty, all in favor will be aye.
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 I myself. Very good. All righty. Well, Shannon, I will, again, let me bypass number 4 on the agenda and go to old business that I would like for the board to be updated on. I did get in touch with Joey down at Reedy and Sykes. We talked for a good little bit. Issues that are going on at our shelter that have been ongoing now for a considerable amount of time. One of them is the newest grinder pump, I do believe, that has been installed below the dog runs, as well as the water leak that has occurred under the dog runs. And going in order that I just brought them up, the consensus between Johan, Joey, and some of the workers from wastewater is that we may need to look at a different type of pump, a displacement pump, which is what Johan is now recommending to be used in a lot of the city applications where they have to pump water and things of that nature. I did discuss with him what he thought the potential cost was on that. He's thinking that that probably is going to be somewhere around $1,200 plus installation. He's going to reach out to Johan and we'll have some more information on that. One minor benefit of this is if we remove the existing grinder pump that does not seem to be able to either get enough force behind what we're trying to move or is becoming clogged up with some minor things, we can put it back in storage to replace either the first grinder pump that's already been replaced once at the main dog runs or the one outside the cat room area. So we will have a backup. This particular type grinder pump, this displacement pump, will handle some issues that we might run into in the future, such as disposable gloves and things of that nature. It is just a better version of what we have. So that's that part of it. The second thing is the water leak. Joey did talk to the folks that done the work, on the outside dog runs last week. He was getting with his plumber concerning getting a estimate and a course of action to, solve that leak. Joey seems to think that we can get help as a shelter from the construction company and even Reedy and Sykes putting a little bit of money in there to handle this issue that pretty much has went on since we started using the dog runs. I don't have any kind of timetable for that yet. Joey was reaching out to him again today. And so hopefully I'll have some information for everybody, and especially Shannon and her staff in the next week or two concerning what we need to do there. And then I would assume the displacement pump, would that need to be approved as a joint venture, as a maintenance issue between city and county? Am I understanding that right?
Yes, if there's cost involved, we need to give the city an approximate cost so that they can be watching for it at the end of the fiscal year to come through as an owed debt.
Okay.
Is that correct, city members? Is that how you understand it?
Yes.
Has to be a purchase order applied for.
We've been having a lot of issues with a lot of pumps in the city that we've had to change over in order to, rubber gloves and things of that nature. So, I guess it's just everywhere.
Well, very good. Well, I'll keep everyone updated through email or discussion via phone or whatever as to what I find out as I get the information sent to me. Do we have any other old business that was of some concern? Well, let me just throw this out there because I know that it was brought up at the last meeting, and it was asked to be put off until this meeting, such as discussion on the job description for the animal shelter director. Do we want to present anything right now?
Well,
I have a couple notes I looked at reading over it. It's basically just to throw it out there. But on the under job description, on the very last sentence, it says provides in a timely manner and schedules humane euthanasia of non-adoptable animals. Do we do that at our shelter now, Shannon?
We do not have euthanasia at the
I think we do.
shelter.
Yeah, we might want to strike that from there. Probably need to put something on there about volunteer staffing. I didn't read that in the overall job description. And then on the next to the very last one on page 2 on oversee grant planning and application process, we might want to add a little bit to that, something that, I don't know, whether it's CTAS or MTAS, CTAS recall or Northeast Development District for, helping us on grant writing, stuff like that. You're just, again, just add a little bit to it, just, some things I was looking at on notes.
Okay, anyone else?
Mike, I've got a few as well, as Mike Simmerly has already pointed out. Obviously, I used the same template for the Washington County Johnson City Animal Shelter Director. In the first paragraph, in terms of job description, and you look down the third sentence, I believe it is, which it states, enforces state and local laws regarding unlicensed stray and uncontrolled animals. We don't have that capability under Shannon's direction. Remember, we don't have an AOC, nor has the commission given that authority to us. So we probably need to kind of wordsmith that. Yes, she does enforce state and local laws as it applies to the shelter, but she doesn't enforce state and local laws as it applies to animal welfare in the community. That's a dog catcher responsibility, a 911 sheriff's department responsibility by state law. So again, I don't want to give our director in terms of enforcement something that she cannot do.
Right.
And if you look at the administrative duties, I think it's the second bullet point. We just need to clean that up, ensure compliance with local, state, and federal laws and regulations. The fourth bullet point, plans and directs the activities of personnel engaged in the enforcement of state and local animal control laws and ordinances. Remember, Johnson City, Washington County has an AOC. We have a dog catcher. Big distinction. So we need to make sure we wordsmith that in order to protect our shelter as well as the director. I don't think, towards the bottom, before you get to the animal shelter management duties on page 1, it says ensure that the organization has adequate insurance coverage. That's not our responsibility at this point. The county provides, and I assume the city as well in some joint agreement, insurance coverage. And until we get some direction, which hopefully we'll talk before the evening's over about asking MTAS and CTAS to come in and give us some direction as they did Sullivan County before Sullivan County moved to 501c3, they can advise us on insurance coverage. Because right now it's vested with county, if I'm not mistaken. And those are pretty much my bullet points I think that we need to consider on page 2, one or two more here. third bullet point down on page 2, receives, assigns, or responds to animal complaint calls from the public. We don't do that.
No.
It's not our responsibility, nor is it the shelter or its director to respond to animal complaint calls from the public. We've already set that in motion that the public must contact 911. They are dispatching any direction to the sheriff's office. And if the sheriff's office or the Elizabethton City Police need the dog catcher to show up to help them manage the situation, that individual is to be contacted and dispatched after the officer is on the scene. I believe that's the way we've designed it to work. Am I right, Shannon?
That's correct.
Okay. So those items I think we need to take care of and be clear of, because I don't want us to be putting our director or our staff in any jeopardy.
I concur. Okay, does anyone else have anything on that? And I realize this is going to be a work and you know, and a process that we're going to have to go through as we get more information and as we get more input from maybe some experts in this field, and we have other things that go on. But does anyone else see anything or that might be an issue we need to also be thinking on?
I think Dr. Acuff and Mike pretty much hit on about everything I think that's important there.
And Chairman, if you want, I'm not speaking for Mike Simmerly, but he and I can push the document back and forth,
Yes.
needed changes, and bring it back to the board for next session. And then you all can decide what you want to do with it.
I think that'd be good. If you two would work together on that and stuff, I think that would be a wonderful thing. And we can continue to, you know, look at that, and maybe we can have something closer to a finished product, maybe by our next meeting, hopefully. Okay, is that good? Everybody good with that?
That'll work.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Michael and Dr. Acuff. Appreciate that. Do we have any more older business that may have, I will ask, maybe Abby, you may be the one I need to ask, is there a actual set date for this workshop? MTAS, CTAS, what do we know on that movement to give us a reasonable expectation going forward? What do we know now?
As of right now, no date had been set. And with the transitioning of the commission duties back to Mary Googe's office away from me, that'll be something that'll need to be coordinated through the county clerk's office for the commission side.
Okay.
Chairman, I would recommend that we make a motion to have the city and the county reach out to MTAS and CTAS respectively and ask them to, that we want the same evaluation that Sullivan County received as we move to a 501c3. So I'll make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Michael, could you, or Chairman, could you resend, or whoever sent us the Sullivan County, that animal center review that we have? If you could resend that back out to us.
I've got it in an email. I can send it out to everyone. It's about 18 pages.
Yeah, if you could resend it back out, yeah, and we'll share that with our individuals.
Okay. I'll do that, Mike.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, Shannon, I believe on this one also, I would like for you to call the roll of the motion to ask both the city and county to reach out to MTAS and CTAS to do an evaluation of operational and what the 501c3 can expect within our community.
Sure. Chairman Mike Barnett,
Yes.
Dr. Bob Acuff,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Sonja Keller,
Yes.
Mike Simmerly,
Yes.
Wes Frazier,
Yes.
and is Kurt Alexander logged on with us?
I see Kim Birchfield on.
Kurt, I don't know, where's that, Daniel?
Yeah,
Are you
but
still there?
Yeah, we've done kicked Kim Birchfield to the curb, so you know, he's not going to be part of that. But hello, Kim. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
And everything, and a number of other people have joined in that I see, and everything. We welcome you all. Okay. Anything else in the older minutes that we want to finish up before we get into Shannon's updates and some other discussion?
Mike, did you need a motion on that displacement pump purchase?
Well, I don't yet. I don't think, because I want to be sure of the figures. Joey was just going by what Johan had sort of threw out there when we were talking that day when we met. And of course, naturally, there'll be some plumbing, costs to install and remove the other one. So I'd like to tie that all up and not just put a motion out for 1,200, but to find out if it's going to be 2,000, hopefully split between county, city, or whatever, depending on what the plumber. And I'm going to try to push Joey to see if we can get a little help, from the plumbing group to maybe be lenient with us, if you would. So
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Yes.
I was going to, one comment that came to mind, and I'm glad this topic came back up, was if it's I know that's a replacement of the pump. I don't know if it's really regular maintenance or if that's a capital item or not, but I was going to say, I don't know the condition of the particular line items, but if you think if you're close to being able to swing it in the operating budget as they go for it, that's a faster route to get there than maybe a little easier and cleaner if it's in the operating budget to be able to swing it. But if it's not, I completely understand if it's a capital request to city and county for the new pump and all the changes that need to happen to put that in.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we'll get some final figures, and then I'll work with Shannon, and we'll look at sort of where we are and what the Friends group maybe can do or whatever. And because that's needed, but we need to get the plumbing leak problem also fixed, because I feel like we fixed one thing, we've still got another thing that ties to it that definitely needs to be fixed, because that plumbing leak issue, directly affects what's going on with that pump on down the line. So, we'll definitely take care of that. Thank you, Daniel. Okay, anything else? All righty, Shannon, we're going to let you take it away and give us some updates and a little bit of what you've done concerning budget, the staffing crunch that you seem to be in right now, and what's going on with Darren, and just a whole bunch of things. Just jump right in.
Sure. So the March intake numbers was 75 cats, 66 dogs, for a total of 141 combined. Our adoptions was 38 cats, 49 dogs, and return to owner was 15 dogs. Our current numbers as of this morning, and we've taken some in since then, the cats was 85 and the dogs are 28. Darren has had 24 dog catcher calls for the month of March, and we kind of started late due to 911 having their meeting and getting everybody on board on how the calls was going to work going forward. Darren is doing very well. He has done many calls through the month, the 24 calls. They're not all through the day. Some of them are at night. And he's getting called out at 12, 1 o'clock at night, but he's still remaining to come to work on time. So I did not replace Darren's position at this time as a shelter worker due to, I wanted to see how much the need was going forward as the dog catcher position started picking up speed. I think we're at a point now to where it is feasible to replace Darren's position as a shelter worker while he resumes the the dog catcher position. When he's not on a call, he's actually here at the shelter, doing things around the shelter and helping everybody keep up there. So I wanted the board to know that I did that for a reason, to save on our budget money in our payroll line. But now that it has become a necessity, I will go ahead and start looking to fulfill that position where he was at the shelter. We did previously have 2 to quit. I think that it's time that as a board discuss some increases in payroll that we should put it in our budget at this time. The shelter staff has really not been increased. They did get the bonuses, and everyone here was very, very thankful for the bonus money. But I did lose 2 staff members, and previous to that, I lost 2 more staff members. One of them was a single mom trying to work here on the dollar amount that we offer, and she just could not do it. I think county employees, I think any employer needs to strongly consider the job that the employees do and the capability that they do their job well. And I think that nothing more that we need to reward them for the job that they do here. I know there's not enough money for us to pay them what they're worth. This staff works really, really hard, but I think showing them some movement going forward in the pay is huge to them. So I just wanted to bring that before the board. We do have an adoption event at Pet Sense on the 15th of May. It is an adopt-a-thon that Pet Sense holds. They usually hold at least one yearly, sometimes more. And that will be from 9 to 5 at Pet Sense on May 15th. We always have 3 cats down there, unless one gets adopted out through the day before we get it replaced. And Pet Sense is working well. The adoptions are going good. The shelter adoptions are going good. We have reached our kitten capacity. Not necessarily capacity, but we have reached our kitten season. And we have some in foster. We have some here at the shelter. Within the last, since Friday till today, we've taken in several different litters of kittens. So kitten season is upon us. I do hear that we still have some puppies out there floating around. I only have 1 puppy in the shelter at the time, but we patiently awaited the kitten season, and so now it is upon us. So we're grateful for the little fellas, and we look forward to getting them into a loving home. So there's the current numbers and the current, I sent out a draft of the budget to the board members for the shelter for them to look over. I worked some with Brad Burke yesterday and today on some of the numbers. Another thing I would like to propose is a vehicle. This year we have worked on one of our vehicles. Most of the time we don't have heat in the vehicle. We have one vehicle that we have consistent heat in. The winter was a little bit of a struggle. We have an issue that still has not been worked out. No one can seem to find the issue with the heat source. Sometimes it'll come on one setting or another setting, but it's not consistent at all. Just to give the board an update of the vehicles that the shelter has, is we have a 2000 Jeep, and that Jeep was given to us from the EMA director before they got new vehicles. We have a 2006 Silverado truck that was given to the shelter by TWRA years ago. We have a 2006 Ford Ranger that was donated by the Friends of the Shelter group. And that vehicle was used some while Freddie was doing animal control, and so was the green truck. We do have a Ford F-150, and it is a 2017, and that is the truck that came with the dog catcher position from the sheriff's department. And we have a 2017 Ford van, and that was donated by the estate. We're thankful for all the vehicles, but the 2000 and the 2006 is starting to run into money and starting to run into trouble. And sometimes when you stop at a red light, some people think that a airplane has landed beside them. So, you know, it's something to consider. It's something that I'd like the board's permission to move forward with, and just get an idea of where you all would like for me to go on those two items.
Shannon, do you know how many miles the 2017 Ford that we the sheriff was using? Do you know how many miles is on it?
You know, Darren told me, and I totally forgot to write it down. It doesn't have that many miles. When we got the truck, we did have to put brakes and rotors on the truck. The bumper had rusted off, but that was under, it didn't rust off. It was very, very, very rusty. But we took that to Grindstaff, and they're ordering a new bumper, and they're replacing that for free on that truck. It doesn't have that many miles on it, but I can check the mileage and I can make sure and have that for you at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Shannon, can you give us an update on feral cat spay and neuter? Where are you in that process?
So we are still continuing our feral community cat program. We've had several calls and we have several lists going forward. The community's been great. There's such a need out there that as long as we can continue to do it for free, I feel like that we need to. ASPCA, I know, has opened up to some of their regular customers. During COVID, they had backed it down quite a bit to shelters only. Now we're having to wait for some spots. We was going every Thursday, and now we're getting to go maybe twice a month, sometimes 3 times a month for the feral program. We have the last couple of trips that we have taken. The last one was on the 5th of April. Most of the females we took was pregnant. So we're very thankful that they brought those in, so we did not have more feral cats out there. They are vaccinating these cats for rabies and giving them a ivermectin shot, which is a dewormer for them. So we're very thankful for that program. We have plenty more cats out there that are pregnant at this time. And we're trying to talk to the people, you know, that bring the cats in. If we get an opportunity and people call, tell them how important it is that they spay, they neuter their cats, and as well as their dogs, to cut down on this population.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, board, let's go ahead and entertain what Shannon also was asking concerning requesting a new vehicle and also trying to meet her staffing needs with Darren having to spend so much time, as Freddie did many moons ago, getting called out at 1 and 3 and everything else with injured animals or aggressive animals or whatever. What's the board's thought process on these 2 items?
Shannon, how many vehicles do you need?
Just one. Joy goes to the courthouse twice a week, every week. We take, we would like to have a vehicle that we can take to our vet appointments around here. Like, we just got 3 pregnant cats in, so we'll be taking those cats to the vet in the morning. We would like to have heat we'd needed for those cats that we transport locally. We only use that van when we're talking about several different animals. So a vehicle just pretty much to use local that would last for many years, such as these vehicles here that we have had, is what we're really talking about.
I guess what I was thinking about was if you could do away with the Jeep and maybe the TWRA truck and get something else, or maybe even the first 3 you mentioned and get one vehicle.
My thought on that is to give the Jeep and the Ford Ranger up. The Ford Ranger is a two-seater. There's not a whole lot we can do with it. You really can't put animals in the back of it. You can't haul a whole lot in the front. So that one I think is one of the first ones to go. The Ford or the Chevy Silverado, that's a truck that Freddie did use a lot for animal control. That can be a backup truck if we have to have the part-time ACO personnel. I think that's a good truck. It is four-wheel drive. There's many places that do require four-wheel drive when you're going in and out to get these animals. So I thought that's the one truck that we'd like to have to keep, and the other two certainly they could be put up for, I guess, in the auction. And it on the vehicle, that would be a capital improvement, which would be about $13,000 for the county and $13,000 for the city. Is that correct? Unless somebody knows of another funding source to fund that vehicle.
Mr. Chairman, that's what I was going to suggest. I think what Commissioner Kohler was thinking was, how many vehicles in total do you need? If you got a van and you've got a truck and you want another truck, that means 3 vehicles. Is that sufficient, or do you need something extra? Do you want to keep that one Silverado as a backup? I was thinking, I guess where I'm interrupting you, answering my question about continuing to talk. Well, such as, I guess, what lawyers do sometimes. But my thought was, if you sell off all the junk and you get the proceeds for that, I think that'd be something to consider. And I'm going to assume, I guess, perhaps according to how the documents are drafted, when you surplus those vehicles, that's going to be revenue for the county. I think that'd be a conversation to have with the commission. But if there's a certain number you'd be willing to surplus, so long as that money, when they go to sale, rolls toward the cost of the new truck you need. I don't know. I mean, it may not get you all the way there, but if it offsets a lot of it, that'd be a winner for city and county.
That's kind of the way I was thinking, Dan. You're right. I was thinking if we could get rid of some surplus and use that money toward a new vehicle.
And I just didn't want to get too far out in front of my skis before I actually understood exactly, how many vehicles you need in total versus what you've got. So that I didn't know the answer to that. And I'll hush. This is your all's meeting. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. No, we appreciate the input. That's no problem at all. It sort of clarifies some things.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon, the estate vehicle is the one that you use to transport for the spay and neuter. So that's a given. That's got to stay. And then you've got the one that Darren's using. That's got to stay. So that leaves the other 3, and you ask for the Silverado as a backup. So that obviously leaves the last 2 to maybe send into the gov.com or something and try to get some money for them and put toward one more vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. That's the way that I was thinking. Now, if they really want to take the green truck, they can, I have no objection to that. Now, my only thought for keeping the green truck is if we need a part-time dog catcher to help Darren as he calls, we won't have to come back and ask for another vehicle. We'll have the green truck, and it's still running. It needs some maintenance.
All right, board. What else we think? Sounds like a little bit of a plan to try to procure another vehicle. We all in agreement that would be amendable.
Yes.
Shannon, quick question. Did you have enough money in your budget on fuel for the for the dog catcher?
I think so. That's a good guesstimate. Now, as these calls pick up, who knows? We may have to go back. But so far, the gas amount that I've put in each budget has been sufficient. And we're getting the fuel from the highway department, which is at a cheaper rate than what we would be paying at a local gas station as well.
Okay, thank you.
Shannon, when do you have your budget hearing?
It is on the 26th of April.
Okay. So I would presume we need to act on your budget prior to you going into that meeting. And I know that you put salary increases for your employees, but not for yourself. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what percentage did you choose? I know I think Benny Lyons chose 4%. I think that's what he chose. I overheard last night during his hearing, but I don't know the actual percentage. I've got your budget up, but I haven't gone through it yet.
I did a 5%,
Okay.
but I'll be happy to change that. Whatever the board agrees upon, I'll be happy to change that.
Dr. Acuff.
Yes, sir, Chairman.
I asked Benny that last night. He said he did a flat $1,000 per employee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that he just did a flat amount for his employees, not a percentage.
Thank you. And I guess, Shannon, I haven't done the appropriate math. You've probably looked at it. How would they benefit $1,000 into their base pay or 5%?
I think honestly, it's quite compatible. I don't think that there's that much difference from one from the other, to be real honest. I have my notes that I can grab. I don't think there's a huge difference in those dollar amounts.
Well, certainly I think it's appropriate, since you all of your staff have worked during COVID, almost a 24/7 proposition, if you will, without any benefit in terms of extra salary or anything like that. So I think it would be appropriate for you to choose, as Chairman Hill indicated, if it's $1,000 that goes in their base pay for each employee, I would be happy with that. Or if 5% works out to be a little bit more, I'd be happy with that.
Thank you.
Okay. Board, do we have any other discussion on that part?
Shannon, have you put into your new budget the possibility of a new vehicle, or were you waiting for this discussion?
I did put it in the drafted that I sent out to each board member. It is in the dollar amount. I did also tally up the dollar amount per calls per the dog catcher position. So you can take a look at the budget that I sent. It is included in the budget.
And Shannon, what was that total number without the vehicle? The additional part-time dog catcher, wasn't that like about 70,000 with the pay increase, everything? I'm talking everything, the pay increases.
Just alone, the dog catcher position is around 70,000 if I calculated.
Maybe,
right.
okay, maybe it's a dog catcher. Okay.
Do we need to go ahead, Dr. Acuff, and decide which direction we want to go to approve it for Shannon? Because we don't have long before the 26th. Do we want to either do the 5% or the 1,000 base? Which one do we want to go with?
I'd leave that to Shannon's discretion, whichever works best for the employees, and also add verbiage as Commissioner Culler and the city manager Estes indicated about how we're trying to offset the cost of the vehicle. But I would like to see us approve our budget so that when she's asked at the budget hearing, has your board approved your budget, she can resoundingly say, yes, they have.
I agree with that. Shannon, in talking with Mr. Burke, did he indicate that you should do a percentage of a salary, or did he give any indication at all?
He just told me that some had included a pay increase in the salary line item. He didn't give me a percentage or number.
Or if you have a percentage of 5% worked in your budget, then that's fine with me.
Thank you.
Okay, do we want to entertain that as a form of a motion to approve the budget that Shannon has presented?
I think we need, I'll propose that we approve the budget as amended. And if you maybe get us an amended copy back out, Shannon, for our records.
Sure.
And I would second
Happy to.
that, Chairman Barnett.
Okay, Shannon, call the roll on that one too. I want it to be legal beagle.
Sure. Chairman Mike Barnett,
Yes.
Dr. Bob Aycock,
Yes.
Kelly Collins,
Yes.
Sandra Culler,
Yes,
Mike Simmerly,
Yes.
Wes Frazier,
Yes.
and Mayor Alexander. Is he on the line?
I don't see him.
I'm here. That's a yes. I'm sorry. I'm having some difficulties here, but I'm on here.
Nope.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Welcome.
you, sir. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah, we voted you in and you get to bring pizza next week, next meeting.
All right. That sounds good to me.
That'd be a good deal. Kurt, if you would, I had, and I think Kim may help me with that. I don't know, but I had asked for your email address. If you can maybe get that or have someone send that to me, which is, it's pretty simple. It's just Mike at bigjohnscloseouts.com. So just send me.
I'll do that right now.
Include you on all that stuff.
Thank you. I'll get that out to you right now.
And I appreciate it very much. Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you all.
Okay. I guess again, the elephant in the room that we're going to have to talk again about is going to be trying to get some movement forward, direction and information and things on this 501c3 that they're wanting us to entertain from the county side. There's so many things there. We've talked about feasibility studies, information, the crunch that we need of information there that'll help us make a accurate determination of what we can expect, how accounting is going to be handled, what's the structure of not only capital improvements, but the structure of the board, structure of the relationship between city and county is going to be, avenue of communication that we don't seem to quite have tore down yet. We can go on and on as far as that goes, but I think first of all, I think the board understands we've got to have some information, and these task force, they have experts that look at demographics and everything coming and going to give a what should be a very unbiased opinion of what we can expect as a board in the shelter from our community. And so I hope that's where we can get some movement started relatively soon. Do you think that's agreeable, Daniel, on your side?
I think I caught most of that, Mr. Chairman. But what I didn't catch, I'll say, I think you're a pretty reasonable fellow, so I'll take it as reasonable and we'll work with it. How's that?
Okay. Well, that's very good, because the more information that we can get, the better off we're going to be as we try to determine what we can try to accomplish to benefit everybody involved. So I appreciate anything you can do there on getting some movement there. And then county commissioners, I would assume that would need to be a request that would come from Mayor Woodby. Is that correct?
I would imagine it will need to be at her ask. I don't think it was handled quite that way in Sullivan County, but I think if Mayor Alexander asked MTAS to do something and Mayor Woodby asked CTAS to come alongside and help ferret the issue about how this exists. I think that would be very helpful. And I think as a board, we need to start thinking about what we want them to answer. I mean, I've got a whole list of questions that I think many of you received when I was contacted by Ivan Sanders of the Star, which it was never published, but I think the news media that's on, and certainly I know that Shannon and Wes and I have all talked to WJHL at their request, and we've given them our concerns. It's not that nobody wants to become a 501c3. It's just how we do this and how everything is folded together. I mean, the last time we discussed this at County Commission, Attorney Harden suggested that we not go there until we had a discussion with the city, which, as you know, has not occurred, because he doesn't understand if it's a 501c3, how can our employees still be county employees? So he said he didn't think that that could be done, but obviously I think there are other entities out there, but how they did that is a conundrum to Attorney Harden. So things like that, health insurance, longevity, all the other things that need to be considered prior to moving to a 501c3. I also wanted to know if the issue surrounding ownership, does the 501c, does that mean 501c3, does that mean the city donate the land to the 501c3 and the county donate the building to the 501c3? I think each of us have a series of questions that we need to be answered and come to agreement to make sure that this happens. I just got more questions than I got answers right now.
I do hate to, Kurt, excuse me just a minute. I hate to have to step away, but I do have to make this other arrangement and stuff. I will say I thank each and every one. I thank all of our guests. I welcome you, Kurt, as the newest member, and I thank you all for your support of our animals and Shannon and the thing. And a number of you all have reached out and concerning my wife's surgery and her recovery. I thank you for your prayers and thoughts. And Dr. Acuff, I'll let you go ahead and maybe wrap this up and I'll communicate later this evening or tomorrow if that's okay. And I hate to have to leave, but it's just one of those situations where I've just got to go on this particular time. So,
yeah. Well, please tell Lynn we're thinking about her and praying for her.
Thank you very much. You all have a good evening. Okay.
You too.
You too, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Kurt, you had an interjection?
Well, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just wanted to echo pretty much what you said, and I can't speak for the whole city council, but I think kind of where, as mayor, where my direction I would like to see, and it's the thing I mentioned the night that the county voted to proceed with this was, hey, we're preaching working together. I get on there, I ask, hey, let's step back for just a second. Let's get with the city. They proceeded on. We've still heard nothing from the county in regards to this. And, I'm not saying a 501c3 is right or wrong, but I'm saying if we're going to do it, we're all going to have to get together. And that's not happening right now. So I think it's a dead issue to even talk about until we get some type of communication between the two bodies, and especially you guys. The way I look at it, I'm new on this board, but your guys' job is our job is, as the animal shelter, is determine what's best for us, and then we take that to the county and the city and say it shouldn't be the other way around. It's like the tail's wagging the dog right now with the one governing body telling you this is what we're doing without talking to the other two. And that's no way to have a partnership. And, do I sound frustrated? Yes, because I am. We've waited for months. We've still not had any discussion, and that's frustrating for us at the city. Sorry to get on my soapbox, but, if we're going to talk partnership, let's do it. If we're not, then let's do something else.
I agree with you, Kurt. Yeah, we've not had no communication, and this board should be, somebody should be talking to this board also. Nobody's contacted this board. Nobody's contacted city council or nothing.
So that was all. I agree. I mean, that's my frustration. Yes, I'm frustrated because, it's just, we're back to what we used to be doing, and that was not working together. Not just the animal shelter, but it's in several things. If we're going to work together, let's dig our heels in and let's work together, and we welcome it. But you don't see us as a governing body at the city going and making policy and then throwing it to the county. There's always a discussion beforehand, and it's frustrating that's not happening. And I think if we're going to work together and move forward, it's got to happen. It's got to happen soon, or just forget it. Just continue as is.
Well, not speaking for my other two county commissioners, but I think we have consistently been that voice in commission that to move forward, we've got to talk to one another. And the way that the joint agreement states, we each have a stake in this. And the Animal Shelter Board was formed to be the entity in which the shelter reported to, just like Benny Lyons over our landfill reports to the committee. And so this again is very frustrating to us as well, Kurt. Any other comments about this particular issue?
I'll echo that. I agree totally with what you and Mayor Alexander said. We do need to work together. If we're going to work together, let's do that. If we're not, we don't have a partnership. And right now, this is the best partnership.
No. Kelly, did you have a comment?
Yes, I was going to say, I was just wondering how long the research at the MTask and, wondered how long that might take. If, did you have any idea when you talked to them at the Sullivan County, how long it took?
I have not. I'm happy to call Sullivan County. I don't know what their timeline was, but I think, and I can shout out over there, but and I don't see a date on this particular document, but the animal center over there, whose chair is Tom Parham, actually did ask, and I've read the document, but I don't see any timeline in here. But I'm happy to call him to see, once they got them on board, how long it took.
Dr. Rick, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to add to that one point, and I didn't mean to interrupt Commissioner Collins, but my recollection is that with the one for Sullivan, that Pat Hardy from MTAS and Rick Hall from CTAS were the two counterparts that were involved. So that may be to our advantage. That doesn't answer the question about timeline, but I think it does help that they've directly had some experience. But again, forgive me for being a little behind the curve when Chairman Barnett asked the question, but yes, that obviously they will have to hear from the city and the county. I'll be happy to speak to Pat Hardy about that on the city's behalf to see if they will collaborate again with their CTAS counterpart, Rick Hall, and try to move that forward on behalf of the Shelter Board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
I didn't know if we needed to make a motion to ask, Mayor Woodby to, get in touch or what, and then send it on to her. Or if we're just if Shannon's just gonna send an email asking her to forward that, or what?
Was that not as part of my motion, Shannon, when we said to invite CTAS and MTAS?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. It may have been. I'm sorry, my dogs were barking and I had to mute, so I missed all of that. So, okay, I just wanted to make sure that we've got this moving on in some type of direction.
Well, I can. I'll talk with Chairman Barnett and ask him. I don't mind drafting a letter to both the city and county mayors and copy the city manager on that and the chair of the commission. And outline what we want. I would ask each of you, if you still have the document that I sent out that I prepared for Ivan Sanders, to look over that again and see if there are other items that I neglected to put in there, or if you want to add, because I think we need to go to them with a series of questions on how this is going to work. And maybe that will give them a little impetus to jump in there and do it if we've done some groundwork for them.
If I may, just a side note, I don't think Sullivan County is completely finished with their 501c3, so it's not a short process, is my understanding. It's a very long process.
Yeah. Well, as of this year, they have not filed a 990 with the IRS, and that's as you know, every nonprofit has to do that. If they do not do it within so many times after having gained that status, they will no longer retain that status. The IRS will remove them as a 501c3. So, and they're obligated to, in fact, to give her some kudos once again. That's how Suzanne Prince got all the data that she did. She went directly to the IRS and pulled it down, and that she was the one that noted that Sullivan County has yet to file. So you're absolutely right, Sonja.
One concern that I have as for the shelters is every Monday and Thursday, we make a deposit at the trustee's office. That deposit consists of, did you have something, Dr. Acuff?
No, go ahead. You just remind me of something we need to talk about.
Okay. So the money that we deposit is from adoptions, from donations that come in and they go into a separate line item and account. We have cruelty case money that comes in. We have money that comes in from return to owners. So that goes into our deposit on Mondays and Thursdays. At that time, that goes, once that money is deposited, it's gone into the general fund for the county. We need to know if this money is going into the general fund, and it's going to remain in the general fund. If we're going to look at going forward to a 501c3, does this money need to go into a reserve account to build up some money going towards a 501c3? Does it need to go build up for this year to go into next year's budget? There's several different things that we can do with this money, or does it need to go back into the reserve account? I think that's something that needs to be talked about. This could make a huge difference in my budget if that money had went into a reserve account last year. Also, the money that we're turning in per year from the budgets, that's also going back into the general fund as well. But, that's one of the concerns that I had about, normally with a 501c3, you have some money to start out on. So what's the board's thoughts on that money being in a reserve account? Do we need to wait till we get the study back? Will they include that in the study?
Shannon, how much money are we talking about, just approximately?
I've got those, Shannon, I've got those figures. What's going into the general fund for 2021 up to or through March 2021 was $43,057. In 2019-2020, that was $54,636. In 2017-18, that was $45,363. So, of course, those are animal registration, donations, adoptions, other items that come in as dollars to the shelter.
I think this may be something that we need to talk to MTAS and CTASC about, how to proceed with gathering our own money if we're going to go into the 501c3, and if that's something that we're to do, exactly the steps to begin that.
Agreed.
So I'll explain. As I put the budget together, And I put a dollar amount such as for the spay or neuters or the medical line item, or I put it in there for drugs and supplies. Those are the three main categories that if it's a heavy year and we use that money that has been budgeted, then I'll transfer donation money according to, now some of them is for, for medical care, or some of them will say, just use this. A lot of times the money is allotted for certain things. And so when that money is allotted and we don't have the money in the budgeted line items, or we're getting close to running low, I will ask the finance office to transfer donation money into that line item rather than going back before the Carter County Commission and asking for more money to go into the budget. I feel like that's fair. I feel like when people donate money, I always want to be honest with them and ask them where they want their money to go. And that's where we want their money to go. If they're trusting us with their money, then we feel like it needs to go where they want it to go. And they know that if they want an animal spay done, then we'll put that money for that reason.
Yeah.
So I wanted everyone to understand how the donation money is being used at this time.
So Shannon, are you saying that if, say there's a death and people donate in the name of someone that passed away, but they don't specifically say, I'd like for this money to go towards dog food or medical supplies, then that money will go back into the general fund?
No,
Unless it's specifically-
it goes into the donation line item, but it's not for a specific reason. Like some people will put dog food or cat beds on theirs, or dog beds, or medical services or emergencies. We've had that put on there. If they specify, I've asked our office manager to keep a log of that. If it's specified, it all goes into a reserve account for donation, but it's allotted for certain services or certain items that it can be spent towards. Does that make sense?
But what about the money that's not specifically allotted?
But it's still listed as a donation.
Okay.
When they write on their check, it's donation. So it still goes into that reserve account, but we just try to keep a running log of how much is in the dog food and how much is for beds or medical supplies or unnamed donation.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify that. I thought maybe something had changed in the past, but that's what I thought you meant, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, thank you for asking.
Is there anything else we need to discuss tonight? I don't want to take up everyone's evening, particularly after those of us went to budget hearings last night. Okay, the responsibilities are, Mike Simmerly and I are going to work on job description. I'll help Mike draft a letter to both mayors and copy the chair of the commission and the city manager about what we would like for them to request from CTAS, MTAS. Is there any other to-dos that we need to get out there? And you all are going to look at the list that I think everybody has that I made for Ivan Sanders. Read through that and add your comments or other things that we need to offer up to the MTAS, CTAS that we're talking about and our concerns.
And Bob, could you send that back out again too?
Sure, I can do that.
I'm sorry, my computer, my IT guy did a clean on my computer and I'm having a hard time finding anything.
Yeah, I'll send it out to everybody again, and
Thank
along with anything else that people that want to see as well.
So is it my understanding that this board is asking MTAS and CTAS? So at this point in time, we're just kind of still in limbo as going forward to a 501c3. We're going to wait for that information to go back. then once we get the information to go back, then where do we go?
Yeah. Well, I think we'll have to have, probably as a 501c3, you'll have to have bylaws and officers. And until we know what we're dealing with, who you guys are reporting to, et cetera, it's going to be difficult to draw up bylaws and reporting structure and how all of this is going to fit together without having a roadmap to go by. I mean, I'm sure we could do bylaws, but they'll be meaningless after the report, particularly if they ask us to do something different. I know I just went through bylaws, and and I know Attorney Harden will help us, and I'm sure Attorney Day would too from the city side. But we just went through bylaws. It's a simple process, but you got to have a roadmap and have some direction on where you're going. So, Shannon, go ahead.
On employees and the status of, just seems like some people say they can still be under the county and some people say they can't. So I want clarification on that, either from both lawyers, city and county, or from the task that we're going to see task and see what they say too. I'm not sure if they'll actually be the ones to answer that though, but that's a big concern for me.
I think this is just the first step, Shannon, and this is the way I look at it, that we're reaching out to get some information, let them do the surveys and look at our situation. And then there's a lot of steps to go through. And I think this is just the first step. And I think hopefully we can get some of the answers that we're looking for. At least we can get some place to go find them.
I agree. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of things that's not answered that needs to go in a certain direction. And I certainly don't have the time with keeping up with the shelter, to sit and go through these steps. So if there's something that I need to do, please point it out to me. It's something that I've looked over maybe. As far as asking for information, I'm happy to give any information out that anyone needs or anyone asks for. As far as MTAS or CTAS goes, I'm happy to provide anything that they may need.
Okay.
Is there going to be a point of contact for CTAS and MTAS?
Technically, it should be the chair of the committee, but because they'll tender their report back to him, I would think. And certainly courtesy copies to both county and city entities. That's why we need to include the mayors and the city manager and the chair of the commission, so that we have some direction for each entity from MTAS and CTAS. Because I'm sure Josh is going to ask us, in terms of county employees, how can we finagle for you all to be an employee of a 501c3 but yet get paid by the county, for instance? So,
Correct. That's a concern of mine as well.
Yeah.
Insurance is a concern. Retirement plans. One of them has a long retirement plan. If she has to withdraw her money out, if we go to a nonprofit, she's going to have to pay tax on that money.
Yep.
So there's a lot more things to just look at and realize than just saying, hey, here you go. There's a lot that follows when you're going from one entity to another entity, or as a combined entity, as a city and the county both.
Right. The only other thing that I have thought of and was on my agenda after Mike and I talked today is how entities communicate with the shelter. And I know in the past, Shannon's gotten a lot of phone calls from individual county commissioners, not that she's supposed to not answer those, but I think the board is supposed to be the first line of defense, if you will. And I would like to see us make a motion that any inquiries about the shelter first come to the shelter board. That keeps Shannon out of the firing line. It puts us in the proper place between her and any outside entity. Because I just don't think it's right for her to be pulled one way or the other when she's got a job to do. It takes away from other things that she's doing. Am I clear on that? Sanjay, you look like, what's he talking about?
Quite clear. And if you need a motion for that, I'd make that in form of a motion.
And I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion on that motion? Everybody's clear. All communication from both city and county or any other entity needs to come to the shelter board, and we'll handle the appropriate way to get that information back to the individual or the group that's requesting that information. Further discussion? Shannon, you want to call the roll on the motion, please?
Sure. Chairman Mike Barnett. Dr. Bob Acuff.
Yes.
Kelly Collins.
Yes.
Sandra Color.
Yes.
Mike Simmerly.
Yes.
Wes Frazier.
You're muted, Wes.
Well, I'm sorry, yes. My dogs were barking.
Mayor Alexander.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you all. I don't think unless anybody else has any discussion items or anything that we need to talk about, the only other thing that we have on the agenda is to set the date of the next meeting.
We will be gone the 18th. I think the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd. The city council will be gone working on stuff.
Right.
According to my calendar, that should be May the 11th. Shannon, is that correct?
That's correct.
That'll work.
Everybody's okay with May 11th?
That works.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll set that as our next meeting. I guess it will be.
Will we be announcing a Zoom or in person, or we want to wait?
I guess we probably should wait until closer to the end of the month to see what the governor does.
Chairman Acuff,
Yes, ma'am.
I had a message from Mayor Woodby today. She is in Nashville this week with the other county mayors, meeting with the governor and some state legislators. And she sent me a message to let me know that the governor said he is not going to extend electronic meetings past the end of April. So she had wanted me to pass on that message to the clerk's office, so that way all the May meetings could be advertised as in person.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that input. So I presume we will be meeting face to face.
Well, you could, I guess.
What, Kurt? So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Talking to my kids. We're out in the backyard.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Shannon, when you set that up with, I guess it'll be Patsy Lewis or Gwen Crow, see if we can't reserve the courtroom. I don't feel comfortable still sitting in the smaller conference rooms, the mayor's conference room, et cetera, with us in attendance. I think we can physically distance. People can still wear masks, as I think will be required, but I don't have any desire of sitting in a 20 by 20 room.
Okay.
Yes, I'll be happy to request that,
Okay.
the courtroom.
Okay. Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the input. So we are.
Thank you.
We are.
Good night.